Judges, I present to you Emporia State University. They will be tackling our policy case question. The United States political leaders are proposing new restrictions on international imports of steel in the form of tariffs and quotas. Are these proposals a good idea?
Hello. So first of all, I want to say good afternoon to all of you. I don't know if I had to say hi to each of you individually, but well, for this answer, we decided to divide all of our reasoning in the philosophy part and the economic side of the argument, and kind of put the politics in the middle. Now we'll start introducing the philosophical argument. So the first thing we thought is that how is this impacting the freedom of each people, and whether this freedom is actually valuable for its own sake or for the consequences of this. So in more philosophical words, is this intrinsically valuable or is it extrinsic or instrumental? So what the example we thought is like, I could have two people that are trying to buy steel. One of them, like both of them bought the same steel. They bought from America. But if we start asking them questions why they did this choice, one of them could say, I actually prefer the American option. But the other person could tell me, you know what, they raised the price so high that I could not afford the other one. So the only reason that I'm taking this is because I didn't have any more choices. So what we're trying to say with this is that the United States putting tariffs and quotas on people's, like on this part of steel, is actually restricting the freedom of people to choose and actually have more competition in the market so they can select what they actually want and not what they are impulsed to buy.
And for the political aspect of it, we kind of thought about whether or not, like, kind of like both two different countries kind of battling about. Like, if one country is saying like, oh, I'm going to raise the tariffs from like 10%, that same country is, well, I'm going to kind of like raise it up by at least 10%, and it's going to have this kind of like mediator between the two, where it's just going to keep increasing, and the amount of tariffs are just going to keep increasing exponentially in a way because of this lack of, I guess, communication between the two, and it wouldn't really bring about anything good for the actual consumers. It would more so kind of just penalize them in a way, and it overall, like, both nations, I guess you could say, wouldn't benefit from this proposal in a sense.
And looking at this issue from an economic standpoint, obviously, we've all heard the argument, you want to protect American jobs. People don't really see the effects of that. When you have a tariff, you're essentially artificially increasing the price because the domestic businesses aren't efficient enough to make it cheap. And looking at competition, obviously that creates the cheapest price for the consumers. And artificially increasing that, we've all seen the graphs, you get your tax revenue, people like that, you can do good things with tax revenue, but you also get that deadweight loss. And those are resources that could have been better used in society, and people are just unnecessarily paying higher prices. Looking at quotas, obviously you're limiting the supply of something, and if we've mentioned this in our video, if you're limiting that, then you wind up with shortages. And no matter how you go about this issue, whether you're issuing a tariff or a quota, people are going to be worse off.
So to wrap it up, to wrap all of our ideas, we would tell the political leaders that there are better ways they can protect American jobs and that they can actually make the American people better. But with this answer to the situation, they're actually hurting the people, not helping them.
Okay. So now we have time for the judges to ask you guys some questions.
One of the things that I like about what you said is when you're talking about the restrictions of freedom, and you said that tariffs restrict freedom. But if I'm a steel producer, does it restrict my freedom if I lose my job to overseas competition? And if that does restrict my freedom, how does everybody else's slight increase in freedom outweigh my pretty big restriction of freedom? And if it doesn't restrict my freedom, why not?
I guess the first thing that I'll say about that, obviously, if you're the person losing your job, that loss is much more apparent in that one individual, whereas the overall loss to society is like smaller and more spread out, but that cumulative loss looking across society is actually greater than that loss concentrated on the individual. Obviously, people are going to be very upset losing their jobs, and the economy is always evolving. People are finding ways to be more efficient, and that creates new jobs. Talking about competition earlier, that lowers the price. People have an incentive to make things better, so that way they can offer lower price and sell more product.
I would say that at the end, we're looking to maximize those marginal benefits, and well, something that we have learned over time is that jobs get destroyed, but new jobs always get created. And if the more efficient way to get steel is from other countries, those American people can get more efficient jobs that will actually help grow the economy.
Go ahead.
You talk about the tax revenue. Will tax revenue, because of the increase of tariffs and the quotas, will that kind of cover the loss from import-export quotas or any amount of loss, and probably tax revenue cover that? Could you comment on that?
So I'll just clarify, are you asking if the tax revenue makes up for
Yeah,
the
makes up
loss?
all
The tax revenue actually doesn't, I guess I can't draw the graph here, but it doesn't cover all of the loss to society, which is why you have that deadweight loss. Obviously, you can do good things with that tax revenue, but the overall difference in what the price would have been without the tariff versus what the price is after the tariff, that effect is greater than just the tax revenue. Did that answer your question?
Yes, yes, very good.
Anything else?
All right, looks like we're all set.